For every dollar Iran spends launching a Shahed drone, the UAE spends up to $28 to shoot it down. Iran is firing these things by the hundreds to bleed America's allies dry of the missiles they need to survive. Air defense is brutally and unsustainably expensive. A single Patriot interceptor costs somewhere between $3 million and $6 million. A THAAD interceptor, the system designed to kill ballistic missiles at high altitude, is closer to $12 million a shot. Those systems exist in finite numbers, and the production lines that make them are slow. Lockheed produced roughly 600 Patriot interceptors in all of 2025. They're trying to scale to 2,000 by 2027. That sounds like a lot until you realize Iran is firing thousands of attack drones in a matter of days. Iran has spent decades under sanctions, cut off from Western weapons technology. They couldn't build a fleet of advanced fighter jets. They couldn't buy long-range precision cruise missiles off a shelf. So instead, they built something the Pentagon never took seriously enough: a mass production, low-cost, one-way attack drone called the Shahed 136. And then they figured out how to use it not as a standalone weapon, but as the opening move in a multi-layered assault that pairs cheap drones with expensive ballistic missiles. The drones come first, exhausting interceptor stockpiles. Then, the missiles arrive to punch through whatever's left of the defensive shield. Can America's air defense architecture survive a prolonged war against a weapon that costs $20,000 to build, but demands a $6 million missile to stop? Then Iran's primary strike tool is the Shahed 136 developed by Shahed Aviation Industries, tied to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. It's 3.5 meters long, with a 2.5 meter wingspan, powered by a 50-horsepower piston engine that produces a distinctive buzzing hum, which Ukrainian soldiers famously nicknamed the moped. It cruises at around 115 miles per hour, carries between 66 and 110 pounds of explosives, and has a range of up to 1,200 miles. It's not fast. It's not stealthy in the traditional sense. But it was built for something else entirely: volume, attrition, and economic devastation of the defense. Paired against it are the US-supplied Patriot missile systems, THAAD batteries, the Israeli Iron Dome, and various naval intercept systems operated across the Gulf states. These are genuinely world-class air defense networks. They work. The problem isn't their effectiveness, it's their economics. The Shahed 136 is not the same drone that debuted in 2021. Over the past 3 years of real-world combat in Ukraine, it has evolved into something significantly more dangerous, and the hybrid doctrine Iran built around it has been sharpened by actual battlefield data from tens of thousands of engagements. Initially, Western analysts didn't spend much time on Shahed 136. It was slow, small, and looked almost artisanal. It flew at the speed of a light aircraft and carried a warhead smaller than what you'd find on many artillery shells. And then Russia bought 6,000 of them for $1.75 billion and started dropping them on Ukraine. What followed was the largest real-world stress test of cheap drone warfare in history. Russia launched Shaheds and salvos, sometimes dozens, sometimes over 100 at a time, against Ukrainian power plants, heating infrastructure, and residential areas. Ukraine shot down over 80% of them, and Russia kept launching. By early 2025, Russian forces were averaging 140 Shahed-type drone strikes every single day. Over 38,000 Shahed family drones were launched against Ukraine in 2025 alone, according to Ukrainian military data. Even an 80% intercept rate still means 20% get through. When you're launching 140 a day, that's roughly 28 hits on Ukrainian soil every day. and every drone Ukraine shot down cost far more to intercept than the drone itself cost to build. ASRAAM air-to-air missiles, used by the RAF to knock down Shaheds during Iran's April 2024 attack on Israel, cost an estimated $225,000 each. Does the Shahed cost $20,000 to $50,000? The math is deliberately and structurally broken in Iran's favor. And the drone got better. Russia's combat experience fed directly back to Iranian engineers. Modifications emerged: matte black paint for night operations, honeycomb structures inside the wings to reduce radar cross-section, anti-jamming antennas, and upgraded navigation systems resistant to GPS spoofing. By 2025, Iran had also deployed the Shahed 238, a turbojet-powered variant that cruises at around 320 miles per hour, nearly 3 times faster than the original, making it significantly harder to intercept with ground-based guns. Do you think the Shahed 136 is the most cost-effective weapon in active use today? Or is there something that beats it on pure bang for the buck? Let's hear it. A drone by itself is manageable. A ballistic missile by itself is manageable. Both of those things together, launched in coordinated waves, designed to exploit each other's effects? That's a different problem entirely. Iran's doctrine, which has been demonstrated in real operations, works in layers. The Shahed drones go in first. They're slow, they cover long distances, and they force air defense networks to light up their radars, expend their short-range interceptors, and burn through reaction time. Operators are managing dozens or hundreds of tracks simultaneously. The engagement timeline is relentless. Then the ballistic missiles arrive. Ballistic missiles fly much faster. MRBM-class weapons that Iran fields can cover the distance from Iranian territory to targets across the Gulf in a matter of minutes. They come in on steep ballistic trajectories at high altitude, which means only THAAD or equivalent upper-tier systems can reliably intercept them. But THAAD interceptors cost up to $12 million each, and they were designed and purchased with a very different threat in mind. When THAAD has to fire repeatedly against ballistic missiles following an exhausting wave of drone intercepts, inventories that were sized for a different conflict start looking very thin, very fast. The numbers from Iran's June 2025 escalation before the current conflict tell the story clearly. In a 12-day exchange, Iran launched more than 1,000 drones alongside approximately 550 ballistic missiles in coordinated waves. Analysts estimated the intercept costs for U.S. and partner forces ran between $5 billion and $10 billion worth of missile interceptors. Iran's launch costs for the same operation were measured in hundreds of millions of dollars. That is not a typo either. The defender spent up to 10 times more than the attacker. Right now, as of March 20 to 26, CSIS data covering the first week of Iran's current retaliation campaign shows that Iran has launched over 1,450 drone strikes and more than 540 missiles against regional countries, with drones making up roughly 3/4 of all attacks. The UAE Ministry of Defense has confirmed that out of 941 Iranian drones detected, 65 landed within UAE territory, striking ports, airports, hotels, and data centers. The volume Iran can sustain, day after day, is the whole point. What they did next is even more surprising. In at least one documented case, pure wreckage recovered from an Iranian drone strike bore serial markings from the Kupol plant in Izhevsk, Russia, meaning a Russian-manufactured version of the Jiran 2 was used in an Iranian operation. The drone cooperation between Tehran and Moscow, which began with Iran exporting Shaheds to Russia, appears to be flowing in both directions. The Shahed family didn't stop at the 136. Iran has developed an entire ecosystem of variants designed to cover different roles and defeat different layers of defense. The Shahed 131 is a smaller, shorter-range version. The Shahed 107 is a loitering munition with reported reconnaissance capabilities, including a live video feed. The Shahed 238 is the turbojet variant that flies at roughly 320 miles per hour, compared to 115 miles per hour for the standard model. And just this week, on March 11, 2026, an analyst documented a new electric variant of the Shahed 101, a silent, propeller-free drone designed for saturation attacks where acoustic detection methods won't work. Silent, cheaper to manufacture, harder to hear coming. The electric Shahed 101 entered production in Iran in 2024 and has already seen operational use. Hezbollah deployed it against Israeli military positions in northern Israel in the summer of 2024, targeting radar installations, observation posts, and ammunition storage. Debris analysis confirmed the drone's low-altitude profile, and quiet propulsion allowed several units to reach defended airspace before Iron Dome could respond. The warhead was small, but that wasn't the point. The point was proving that a new layer of the Shahed architecture could penetrate. Meanwhile, Iran has also been receiving weapons back. Reports from early 2026 confirm that Russia has supplied Iran with MiG-29 jets as an interim Air Force measure, with Sukhoi Su-35s to follow. China's HQ-9 air defense system and Russia's S-400 are reportedly being delivered to Iran in significant numbers. Iran is not just building an offensive hybrid weapon, it's building the defensive shield to survive long enough to keep using it. But there's one problem. Iran's solid fuel missile production infrastructure, essential for sustaining the ballistic half of the hybrid doctrine, took serious damage during Israeli strikes in late 2024. Before that conflict, Iran was reportedly producing more than 200 solid fuel missiles per month. Post-strikes, that capacity dropped substantially. Then JINSA analysts estimated Iran fired more than 570 ballistic missiles in the earlier conflict, depleting roughly a third of its stockpile. The reconstitution has begun. Satellite imagery shows reconstruction at key sites. But the missile half of the hybrid weapon is Iran's current vulnerability. The drone half is not. The Pentagon's response to this problem is to copy the weapon. On February 28, 2026, when U.S. forces launched Operation Epic Fury against Iran, they debuted a new drone, the Lucas, which stands for Low-Cost Unmanned Combat Attack System. CENTCOM confirmed its use and stated more remain ready for employment. The Lucas is based directly on the Shahed 136, reverse-engineered from captured Iranian drones. It was sped through the Pentagon's acquisition pipeline in 18 months and embedded with CENTCOM in December 2025. A senior Iranian official, on hearing of the system's existence, reportedly stated, and this is worth quoting, because it captures the geopolitical whiplash of the moment, there is no greater honor than seeing self-proclaimed superpowers kneel before an Iranian drone and copy it. There's a painful truth on both sides of that statement. Yes, the US copied Iranian technology, but the Lucas is also meaningfully better than the Shahed in specific ways. Where the original Shahed uses pre-programmed navigation vulnerable to jamming, Lucas incorporates hardened GPS and inertial navigation systems. It supports AI-enabled swarm behavior far exceeding what the same money buys in Tomahawk cruise missiles, and represents a fundamental shift in how the US thinks about mass offensive capability. The counter-drone architecture is also evolving fast. The Mirops drone on Drone Interceptor has been fielded in CENTCOM after being battle-tested against Shaheds in Ukraine. The war in Ukraine turned the Shahed from a theoretical threat into a verified, combat-proven weapon system. And now that same weapon is being used against American allies in the Gulf, at scale in real time. So, can America's air defense architecture survive a prolonged war against a weapon that costs $20,000 to build, but demands millions to stop? The short answer is right now, barely. Because the economics are brutally one-sided in the attacker's favor, stockpiles are finite. And production lines for high-end interceptors are simply not fast enough to sustain a prolonged war of attrition at the pace Iran can generate attacks. If you were commanding US air defense in the Gulf right now, what's the first thing you would change? Do you push laser systems into service immediately, even if they're not fully tested? Or do you build stockpiles of cheap drone interceptors at the expense of Patriot missiles? Drop your strategy in the comments.